Hello, everyone. My name is Senator Antonio Hayes, and I'm proud to represent District 40 in Baltimore City in the Maryland General Assembly. District 40 is home to a number of our city and state's great anchor institutions, and among those is Johns Hopkins University. Thank you all for joining the Johns Hopkins Government and Community Affairs, which we often refer to as GCA, Showcase Series Conversation. This is the first installation of this series in 2021. It is also the first GCA has partnered with Hopkins at Home for this event. This showcase series highlights various components of Johns Hopkins institutions that may be unfamiliar to many Marylanders, including myself. The series is also a forum to discuss the relationship the showcase programs has with Maryland. I will be a moderator for today's discussion. Today, we will be discussing two programs at Johns Hopkins Peabody Institute with Maria Matheson, Director of Peabody Preparatory, and Daniel Trey, Founder and Director of Tuned-In. The Peabody Institute was founded in 1857 and provides world-class music and dance training through the degree-granting Peabody Conservatory, as well as premier community education through the Peabody Preparatory. The Peabody Institute's program, Tuned-In and Baltimore-Washington Musical Pathways at the Preparatory, provides students access to introductory and advanced musical study and development opportunities, opening doors for success in college and in career paths. Before we get into the discussion, I want to go over some logistics. This webinar will be recorded and will be posted to the GCA and Hopkins at Home websites. Additionally, the questions and answers function has been enabled during this webinar. Feel free to type your questions there. We will do our best to respond to as many questions as we can in the time that we have available today. With that, I will ask both Maria as well as Dan to tell us a little bit about the program at the Peabody.
Thank you, Senator. We really appreciate this opportunity. And also thank you to the folks at GCA and Hopkins at Home. We really are privileged to have the opportunity to share a little bit about our wee slice of the universe at Peabody. So let me get started. I'm going to start with just a little bit of an overview of our Peabody Preparatory and the programs that we offer at Peabody. Today we will be having, let me just make sure, there we go. We've got Dan and myself will be giving you a little bit of an overview. I'm going to start with the overview and then Dan will take it from there to talk about the two programs that we're specifically featuring today. As the Senator mentioned, the Peabody has been in this region for quite some time. The Preparatory joined the Institute in 1894, and we serve as the community music and dance arm of the Peabody Institute. So under the Institute umbrella, we have the Peabody Conservatory as well as the Peabody Preparatory. We currently have 4 campus locations. We are at the downtown campus location, and we also have a location in Towson, and we have locations in Howard County, and we also are at Maryland Hall in Annapolis. So we provide our instruction at all of those various sites throughout Maryland. In addition, we currently serve a student population of about 2,500 students. Those students range in age from 4 months to senior adult, and I do apologize for that graphic, the senior adult graphic. It was what I was able to find. But we do serve our student population through our early childhood program, which is from 4 months to about 7 or 8, and then all the way through to our Peabody Plus, which is our adult programs that we have under the Preparatory. As I said before, we provide instruction in both music and dance. And we offer instruction in a variety of different methods and of different types of styles of instruction. We have private instruction. About 1,000 students come to our campuses each week for their weekly private music lesson. We teach instruments, all of our sort of Western classical instruments, and we also teach in a variety of different styles from jazz. We also offer Suzuki instruction, as well as more traditional applied instructional areas, and all of the sort of typical orchestral instruments that you would imagine. We also have a variety of different group classes that we offer. We have 9 levels of orchestra program, and we're about to add a 10th level of orchestra program. We have a children's chorus that serves about 500 students, and we have an adult community chorus. And we've also just recently added new programming under our new program umbrella of Peabody Pro, which is a program for professionals to offer professional development and further continuing education for professional musicians and dancers, as well as the intersection of where arts and health meet together under the umbrella of Peabody Prescribe. And those are both new programming areas that we've developed under the Peabody Preparatory. As part of our dance instruction, we typically are offering ballet instruction, contemporary, and also world dance instruction. And we have students ranging in age from about 4 or 5 all the way up to adult students who come in for their weekly ballet class. So we have a wide variety of different offerings. Both of our music and dance instruction, we have opportunities for more recreational study, but then also for those that are on the pre-conservatory route who are really serious about their music or dance education and really thinking more about where they might go, and that might be their area of study in the future. Obviously, all of this is tuition. We do charge tuition for our programming, but because we want to ensure that we can provide access to as many students as possible, we do have significant scholarship programs. We have a general scholarship program that typically serves about 150 students who are receiving need-based scholarship program of anywhere up to about a 10% discount up to about a 95% discount. And then we have 3 specific programs that are tuition free, that are addition. Students have to addition to get into these programs, but once they're accepted into those programs, their tuition is covered. And that is our Estelle Dennis program for dance for boys. And then the 2 programs that we're going to talk about today, which are Tuned-In and the Baltimore Musical Pathways program. So now to get down to the 2 programs that we're really going to talk about, I'm going to play just a quick brief video of just to give you sort of a sample of some of the work that our students engage in. This particular video features a residency that some of our students took up to Pontiac, Michigan. And we worked with students up there, spent the week with them, and then this was a piece that this entire cohort of students composed. And Dan will talk a little bit more about that.
So much to unpack there. Hi, everyone. My name's Dan Trahey. It's so nice to be here. First off, Senator Hayes, I just have to give you some props. Thank you for all your work. I feel like you do things before the society feels like they're an issue, right? Like your work on opioids and pharmaceuticals and all that. Before it was, cool or sexy to be on those committees, you were on them. And one in particular that really actually helped us with starting the Tuned-In program was when you were in the House of Delegates and working on the Committee of Children, Youth, and Families. And we looked at a lot of that stuff and a lot of your guys' work because, we were looking to provide bridges to the gaps, right? What are all those things that we needed to do that weren't being taken care of? What were the liabilities? And what were the things that we could take care of to, provide that musical and social pathway for a Baltimore City student between the age of 3 years old and adulthood. So thank you for all your work for protecting our students and advocating for them. It feels good to have folks like you out there doing that. It makes my work a lot easier. So that video you just saw, that kind of says it all right there. That's what the Tuned-In program does. A few things you probably noticed that there were no adults in the video, right? Now, we do have sophisticated teachers that lead a lot of this stuff, but we put the ownership with the students. Okay, so they're doing a lot of the leading, a lot of the teaching. Another big thing is that the kids are composing a lot of their own music. And so with that, they're able to express themselves in different ways, and also we're able to tackle really serious social things that are going on that when we play Bach or Beethoven, we can't talk about. So for instance, like we're composing on matters like financial literacy, or one of the first composition projects I ever did was when Freddie Gray was murdered. And, Beethoven 9 just didn't say it, what our students were feeling. And so we needed to write music that helped them express themselves. We started in 2007 with 6 students, and we're now up to about 150 students. Early immersion, right? Early immersion as a preventative medicine is one of our big keys. So we like to start students as early as possible. We've broken the mold on when you're supposed to start a wind, brass, or percussion instrument. Most of our public school systems start at 6th grade or later than that. We try to get our students starting at about 2nd or 3rd grade, which is amazing because then this instrument becomes an extension of the body, just like a basketball or something else. Maria, can we move? Yeah, that's a good one. All right, so I want to talk about this sound of Baltimore. And now that last piece you heard, maybe that's a little bit of the sound of New Orleans, but we're searching for this sound of Baltimore. We really believe that, sonically speaking, that Baltimore has a unique sound to it. And by asking the kids and asking our communities what that sound is, we're not defining what type of music is played, how we play it, how it's interpreted, if it's read or if it's improvised. And so it allows us to explore the assets of each community that we're working in. Yeah, so because of the success of Tuned-In, we were able to go to some major foundations, including the Mellon Foundation, the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation, and ask for more money to kind of solidify our pathway. So, as many small programs start, it's all on hope, right? And we've been doing this with hope, and we've got great success with that and just with sweat equity. But we needed some money behind this to give our most interested and dedicated students an absolute pathway to success, so that all that they needed to do was put in the work. All they needed to do, that's a ton of work to get to this high level. So we got the Mellon Foundation to sponsor a program called the Baltimore-Washington Musical Pathways. And I'm calling this thing the Yellow Brick Road. Our students are getting professional level instruments. They're leaving our program with laptops. We fly them to all the schools that they want to audition at so they can audition live. We give them experiences in different types of collegiate environments so they can make a decision whether they want to go to a liberal arts school in the middle of the woods or they want to go to downtown, into Manhattan or something like that. And so really, really preparing these students to be successful. both in the programs as leaders and students, but then beyond that. We have a really inventive curriculum. And like I said before, like we're not going with an old school approach. I think that if I can say the one thing that we've brought over from the classical world that we do so well at Peabody is really hard work and diligent work. And that's the thing that's so cool about being in a classical music institution is that people work. They work their butts off. I mean, people are in practice rooms all of the time. And so this dedication and this consistency was something that we knew we needed to do to create this kind of social mobility. So we have private lessons. We have all different kinds of ensembles that look and sound maybe more like the city of Baltimore than you might think that Peabody had or that a symphony orchestra had. All of our kids are composing. They're all drummers as well as they play an instrument beyond the drums. The drums are an instrument, everybody. Sorry, that's important. Tons and tons of performance. One thing that we brought from athletics was that they play a lot of games. And they get to perform all the time. And in music, a lot of times we rehearse, but we don't have anywhere to gig. And so we're getting these kids out there all the time performing, including our students traveling outside of Baltimore so that they can take their knowledge and give that to other students. And what I found with that is that it really makes them love Baltimore more and appreciate the skill set that they have to offer. Tons of theory. We're now doing producing. So every one of the kids in our program is now a young producer, and they're able to put their beats together and all that. And if we think 10 years ago that just was not happening. I mean, it was like, how am I going to introduce Kanye West at Peabody? And now I can do that. It's like it's so cool, as well as improvisation. And when we talk about improvisation, we're not just talking about jazz and Coltrane and all that. We're talking about improvising to Bach and Beethoven and to Diana Ross and all different kinds of stuff. I think we can skip this one if you're cool with that, Maria. Just because I do want to play some more music. I have started these types of programs at a lot of different institutions, and I've had them housed by many different institutions. There's been governments and churches, school systems, universities, orchestras. And I'm not saying this because this is a Johns Hopkins call. Johns Hopkins and Peabody and the Peabody Preparatory is the best incubator for our program. It's just absolutely unbelievable. And COVID is an example of that because Johns Hopkins set a pathway for us that we could respond to, and we had a really, really long scope of what we were going to be dealing with. And so we were just able to make some amazing adjustments during COVID. So everything went online. I mean, that was all Maria's department. She has a huge staff that she runs, and all these people had to transition to online. And for our students, because a lot of our students have tough time with internet and devices and such, we just started purchasing things and sending things out. It was such a cool thing to be FaceTiming a student and for Amazon to be dropping off a brand new MacBook, right? Because they need so many, they need so much RAM to run all the programs that they need for their music and all that. And it's also so cool to give a student something that they actually need. Right? This isn't for playing Halo on or whatever the game is right now. It's for that and for this, this device that's our work device, which is so cool. Yeah, and we were able to actually, all 4 of our students that graduated in the Baltimore Music Pathways program are going on into college this year. And we did all of that and all of their preparation online, which was just absolutely, absolutely unbelievable to me. Y'all, anyone that's saying that online education is not good needs to come to the prep and see what we're doing. And I know that there are major issues out there, including technology. And so I'm not, putting all the onus on a school system and all that, because there are difficulties, and I don't want to say there's not. But we have owned this thing at Peabody and come up with some really, really creative ways. As musicians, we need to record ourselves all the time. So this has given us a chance to teach our kids how to use their own ears to help themselves. And so we're doing a lot more recording. They're making their own beats. They're recording their own projects and all that. And we were able to pair the kids with a bunch of different organizations. And we created some dance videos. and did a bunch of different compositions and really taught the kids that we don't have to be in a room together to make beautiful music. And then, Maria, I think we're going to show one of these clips right now. So I'll just say one thing about this. Sorry, this is a dance project. This is the second movement of it. It's entitled 1968. It's in 6/8 time. I think we all probably know what was going on in 1968 in Baltimore. So the kids explored the race riots going on, and this is their musical and dance reaction to that.
Nice. Dan, was that the end of your presentation?
It is.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That was pretty cool. I appreciate your remarks sooner, and I just want to throw it back and give an opportunity for you or Maria to jump in and maybe share with us any other impacts that you believe that the program has had on Maryland, and share that with those who are listening in this afternoon.
Absolutely. I mean, I think for one thing, like if you look at the top of the pyramid, most of our graduates are graduating from Maryland State higher education institutions. And our graduation rate from, most of our students are from Baltimore City Public Schools, so their graduation rates are, are off the charts, and their academic achievement as well. And I think that like at the bottom of the pyramid, what that really does is, and what we hear is how much leadership there is from our students within the student body at their Baltimore City Public Schools. And I really think that's the biggest effect that we have on the program. Also becoming a larger employer for Baltimore City residents, which, I think if you think about in the old days, that may not have been happening. And now it's cool to be from Baltimore City, and we're looking at different skill sets. And so I think that's one of our biggest impacts now as well, is hiring residents of Baltimore City.
No, fantastic. Could you share with us, either of you, what are your future goals or plans here in Maryland?
Oh, I hesitate to tell all of them in front of my boss, Maria. um, well, we have a lot of them. I mean, a big one is a stronger commitment and connection to the Baltimore City Public Schools, and to other counties, and getting into other counties. And I think another one is doing some more deep listening and figuring out what other demographics are feeling unheard. Right? There's all different kinds of things out there that we need to do. I mean, just one specific would be, we need a band for the blind. We need a all deaf choir, a white hands chorus, where there's intricate sign language going on. So when we get into music as a vehicle for social change and social transformation, it's just endless of what we can do, and what we just have the ability to congregate people. So that's really what we're looking for, is to listen more and figure out where we can make more of an impact and help people be heard.
And I'll jump in just a little bit here as well, just to kind of think, beyond the scope of the programs that we're doing as well. And one of the reasons we looked at this idea of sort of Peabody Prescribe and this intersection of arts and health, is how do we really use music and the arts and dance to really impact the health of Marylanders? So not just as a vehicle of I'm going to learn to play the violin, but if I am in a choir, as Dan said, a deaf choir or something along those lines, that community and those health benefits go beyond just the learning of your musical instrument or your voice. And so really taking that, and particularly because of where we live in the sphere of Johns Hopkins, we're really ideally placed to really think about how do we use music and the arts to move the spectrum on community health and public health, and really take that to the next level. So that's definitely something that we're really looking at, from the health side, but also from the therapeutic side with music therapy and dance therapy. Are there areas that we can really explore with that as well? And then this idea of Peabody Pro, which is the professional development of really providing training for Maryland educators, for and beyond Maryland, for educators, for arts administrators in some of these skills and some of these types of programs, where we can really impact the needle, both socially as well as sort of musically and through the sort of artistic endeavors as well. So those are some of the other, I think, sort of beyond scope of beyond sort of thinking and sort of reimagining what is a community music school. And beyond, yes, we've done wonderful work for 100 years, but what do we look like going forward, and how do we really deepen the impact that we can have here locally, but also beyond that scope as well?
No, thank you. Man, this is amazing. Just outright amazing what you all are doing with our young people. We hear so much in the mainstream media about our young people here in Baltimore, but as I travel throughout the city, and I've lived here pretty much all of my life, I see the creativity that our young people demonstrate, and I see programs like yours exploring and exemplifying that creativity throughout Baltimore and throughout our state. And so Thank you, thank you, thank you 1,000 times for the work that you all are doing. I think, bridging those opportunities and giving our young people the opportunity to express themselves in a way that they feel comfortable is amazing and creates the space for them really to be successful. So I definitely count me in. I'm among the newest cheerleaders for the work that you all are doing there, and want to definitely continue to spread the word about the magnificent work you guys are doing. And so with that, the next question that I had for you today was, what policies or resources would make this project or program even more successful than what it's already been, and giving even greater opportunity to those in our community?
Sure, I can take a stab at that one. I mean, certainly, we were very excited to see the sort of the blueprint for Maryland's future, the education funding that's been approved. We're really excited about how that impacts, particularly for providing funding for schools that are for less wealthy communities. Often, particularly with both of our Tuned-In and our Pathways programs, our students are coming from sort of economically disadvantaged communities, and really providing, we see ourselves as part of the ecosystem in the Baltimore City and beyond community, that we are part of this musical ecosystem of helping provide our students with access to programs like ours. So partnering, as Dan said, with the schools, ensuring that there's quality music and arts education in the school system, really helps elevate what we do as well. And we see ourselves as really partners in that to help. We may be the ones helping provide with private instruction, helping students get that more depth and experience, but often their first exposure is coming in through those school music programs. And then things like those wraparound services, providing additional support for students as they either think about their college education or what they would like to do beyond that, really helping support those students through their educational experience, because often, as students need more than just their math class and their English class. They really need wraparound services to set them up for success. And then the things like pre-K funding, really getting music and arts into those early years, really getting those students exposed at that early age is definitely something I think that policy around that is really beneficial, and I think it helps all of us sort of in this artistic ecosystem as we all strive to do the best for the students in the community.
Dan, did you want to jump in there?
Yeah, I just want to add maybe one thing, and it's one of the privileges of starting this program as being seeing small things make drastic changes. And for instance, like public transportation is an issue in Baltimore City, as we all know. And the better it gets or the worse it gets, that my kids are affected by that, right? Mm-hmm. So if the bus systems aren't running well, then the kids don't show up. But one thing I do want to say is, like, you can see immediate changes. So now that we're getting more bike lanes in Baltimore, so we see more kids showing up via bike, and it could be the day after they complete the bike lane. All of a sudden, a kid from Druid Hill is coming down into Mount Vernon because they can take that bike lane, and like those kind of continued things. All of these social things. I mean, from the cement up, every one of those affects our kids, and the better they get, the more we can do, basically.
No, I appreciate that, and we have some people tuned in, in just a couple of moments here. We're definitely going to go to some of the questions that the audience have. I think I've gone through many of the questions that I had prepared, and Maria helped us answer some of the questions that I asked, and even some that I had anticipated. So greatly appreciated. I think even before we started here today, before we went live, one of the things I talked about was, a local recreation center. And I know the schools have been a great partner, but I would definitely think that, as our Baltimore City Department of Recs and Parks re-image and realize what contributions they're making to our young people. Therein lies another maybe non-traditional partner in a sense that we could definitely explore. But what you guys are doing is definitely amazing. I appreciate the commitment you all have to Baltimore and Marylanders everywhere. I wonder, while we wait, I think there's some questions that just popped up, and I'm going to try to go through some of them. I'll start with the first one, and that is, do you partner with mental health professionals to examine the ways music helps to process trauma?
So I will take that from the perspective of Peabody Prescribe, but Dan, I think you can certainly talk to that with some of the work that you've done with our Tuned-In students and particularly in addressing some specific issues. We're definitely looking at that as how do we, trauma-informed practice is definitely an area of interest of ours, and really developing how do we ensure that we can use these wonderful gifts of the arts to really help impact that. So we are definitely looking at ways, obviously our natural initial partner is certainly through Johns Hopkins, but we will certainly be exploring beyond our borders and looking to partner with other organizations as we sort of develop this work and look at this work, and really thinking about it beyond also in sort of research-based practice as well, so that we can also not only deliver programming, but also provide some research behind it and also develop research as part of that.
Awesome. And these questions, they're great. And Dan, you could pick up on that question, but also if you wanted to touch this one a little bit, it says, how do you frame artistically based student outcomes for the quantitatively driven funding audience?
Sure. Maybe I can cover two questions at once here, and that is, do all of our students do art and music programs in college? And no, most of them actually don't. They go on to University of Maryland to study engineering or education. And even within music, what we're finding is because our curriculum is so diverse, that our students may be studying business, music education, and jazz performance. Which just makes me so happy that they're getting this kind of like 360-degree education. And so because of that, it's not really, we're not even really looking at the artistic merit of it that much. We're looking at graduation rates, right? That is our big quantitative data for what we're able to do in the program.
Awesome. And then there was another question that was added here, and I'm sure you're all familiar with the extraordinary program of OrtKids. I think it's ran out of BSO, and one of the questions that one of the folks put here is, do your kids ever collaborate those young people that are part of the OrtKids program?
Yeah, so this is the Baltimore-Washington pathway in its philosophy. And so many of our graduates started at OrtKids, which is another early immersion program. And then when the students get to be in late elementary school or early middle, they don't transition. They stay in the OrtKids family and they join the Peabody community. So then they're part of two communities where they start getting things like private lessons and such. So yeah, many of our students are involved with both.
And we sort of see that as, kind of thinking that beyond that sort of ecosystem of what happens in Baltimore City, OrtKids, school, sort of school-based music instruction, and it's really sort of the pyramid approach of that sort of early immersion. Then students will transition to Peabody to get that more depth experience where they're getting their private lesson, their orchestra, that more detailed instruction. And then programs like our Pathway program is really sort of the top of the pyramid, that sort of tip of the spear for those students that are really seriously considering music education or, going on to college for music, and really getting them prepared for that. So we have this sort of transition of sort of breadth of introduction to music and exposure, and then being able to sort of hone those skills, develop them, and really provide that depth of instruction that students need if they want to take that path. But as Dan said, not all of our students are going on into music as their career choice. but it always becomes part of who they are as active amateurs, or even some sort of a little bit of professional, but they also still take that love of music into their next part of their lives.
No, awesome. The other question that one someone tuned in, they asked about the participation of your alumni, and do you see a strong alumni community interaction with the students?
It's amazing. I mean, I'm the old man of the team, because we've just as from the very beginning we put the responsibility on our youth. Okay, one of our philosophies is if you know three notes, that you teach those three notes to somebody else, and so this has been just in the mindset of our students from the very beginning. When we do exit interviews, which there really is, you never leave the tuned in program kind of approach, right? These kids are coming back. We incubate their other artistic ideas through funding and such. But when we do exit interviews with the kids from high school, um, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about starting their own programs or going out and becoming a professional musician in New York and starting their own program like this. So we just hired Mateen Milan, who graduated from Yale University, and now he's back as the Baltimore-Washington Musical Pathway Coordinator. We're running a camp right now called the Peabody Innovation and Music Academy. It's not as boring as it sounds. It's pretty amazing, actually. And I'm looking at my teaching staff, and I still think that they're kids, but these are all adult leaders now. They're 18, they're 25, they graduated from college. I still struggle with it, but releasing that ownership a long time ago has really helped us for our alumni to be engaged. Yeah.
No, I know for me, this has been simply amazing. And hopefully, between the people who are listening here and people that will see this broadcast later by tuning into the website, we will, make sure that this is definitely not not a secret as a jewel here in Baltimore, and make sure as many people know as possible. I think we've wrapped up on most of our questions and we're coming to the end of our time today. If there's any other questions, we'll try to get to them before we reach our ultimate time. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank both Maria and Daniel for your time this afternoon and providing a thorough and informative overview of the Tune-In as well as the BWMP programs. I'm proud to have this type of program available here in Maryland and Baltimore, and you could definitely count on me as being a champion and making sure that many other people know about the great work that you're doing, especially among my colleagues in the various communities that I represent throughout Baltimore. I also appreciated learning about this unique part of Johns Hopkins enterprise, and thankful for the investment the institution is making to make Maryland, to allow Maryland to lead in this field. I also would like to thank those of you who tuned in to listen to the conversation in the showcase series. The Johns Hopkins Government and Community Affairs team will host more of these events in the future, highlighting the anchor institution's relationship with Maryland. For more questions, please email gca@jhu.edu. That's gca@jhu.edu. Again, thank you, Dan and Maria, for doing such a phenomenal job in your contributions to not just Baltimore City, but Marylanders throughout the region. And we look forward to whatever the future may hold and the creativity that's generating from the wonderful work you all do. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.